Alan. So why are you here at the remembrance celebration from Charlie Kirk?
Well, I'm here at the vigil for Charlie Kirk because firstly, I want to honour him and his memory. I think that Charlie was an enormous ambassador for freedom and democratic engagement, discourse, robust but open and honest, and really took people seriously. He wanted to, and people talk a lot about respect, but he really respected all citizens because he wanted to engage with ideas and take people seriously. He believed that, you know, you should listen to one another and you should argue openly in a free society. And we've seen in such callous, terrible way how that cancel culture, that idea that you're not allowed to say that, you're not allowed to ask that, you're not allowed to think that, has been tragically, terribly, brutally cut down. But the thing is, all these people here and what it's inspired is a sense that we're not going to just be terrified or terrorised out of free speech, and that we're all going to be resilient and have to have a lot of courage, try and have the courage that Charlie had, who, when we remind ourselves, he went around university campuses in America. One of the videos is with him against 25 different people arguing points and encouraging people to vote. You know, people were saying a few years ago, well, no one votes, no one cares. And I think that in Britain we've got a situation where the state is shutting people down and silencing them, where some people want to cancel people. In America it's taken a much more brutal and violent form, but we have seen that violence here with MPs, with you know, David Ames, with Joe Cox and others, and we've seen people being threatened constantly. We've seen attacks on some of our people who are representatives, and we've seen people call for those things. We've seen pop bands think it's fun to say go and kill an MP. I mean, these things really represent a low point in civic engagement, and so I'm here because I want to honour his memory, and also that standing for the idea of freedom and democracy and decency.
So a lot of famous people and politicians posted on X and sent their condolences, even Keir Starmer. And when you think about if Charlie Kirk would be British, the same Keir Starmer would have put him in prison, or would that be not happening?
Well, I think we've seen with Keir Starmer, there's a reason people in Britain are calling him two-tier Keir. We saw that after Southport, he already started saying people are going to be on remand. We saw the Home Office putting out a post calling people criminals before they were convicted. We saw a weaponised environment where the judiciary imprisoned a lot of people for posts. Lucy Connolly got more time than some people who actually did acts of destruction and violence, and certainly much more than many people who've done other things, including things like physical attacks and rape. And I think the idea that you weren't allowed to discuss what was happening with rape gangs and things like that until very recently, because it might be racist. We know that Keir Starmer's talking about an Islamophobia law, the idea that you're not allowed to say that. He said to President Trump when he was visiting, we've got a proud tradition. Well, yes, we do in Britain have a proud tradition of free speech, but Keir Starmer has not been embodying it. And so many people thought it was very insulting. We've had Rosie Duffield, a brave MP, a Labour MP, a woman who was arguing for sex-based rights, who was pilloried and she was threatened in Parliament. Keir Starmer found it difficult to articulate what a woman was up until about 2 minutes ago. So I think the thing is, it's really insulting when we've seen this attack, this idea that with the Online Safety Act, with non-crime hate incidents, with hate crime, hate speech, the idea that some people are beyond the pale, that they're not allowed to raise questions of borders and migration or these hotels, and we're being referred to in all sorts of terms, as Charlie was referred to by some as far right, as neo-Nazis, and really that should stop. Britain particularly, I grew up in a Britain that was decent. In America, people were Americans first, Republicans, Democrats second. We need to create a culture where we can debate openly and honestly, robustly. We, fellow citizens at the end of the day, we might not agree with one another, but we need to be able to recognise that people have different views and we're susceptible to change, and that this is part of what makes our project, the democratic project, so exceptional, because there are places in the world where you can't have these conversations. And Keir Starmer is contributing to a climate where you get a knock on the door from the police. We've seen it happen. Alison Pearson, the journalist. We've had spy units on doctors and journalists, a rapid response unit, counter-disinformation unit. We've seen an ex-veteran arrested for a post he reshared on Facebook about a trans flag. All of these things, 30 arrests a day, 13,000 arrests last year for non-crime hate incidents. So no, I don't think Keir Starmer's promoting a proud tradition of free speech.
And especially when you see the rhetoric, what happened in America. We saw a post from Joe Biden sending his condolences for the family of Charlie Kirk. But the same Joe Biden framed him as a far-right extremist, as a Nazi, as a domestic terrorist. So do you think, because you hear such a rhetoric already in the UK, you look into tomorrow, do you think that this hateful rhetoric could stir up some tensions? Because we've seen a lot of promotions of counter-protests from the left side. So do you fear that maybe tomorrow can something happen?
Well, I really hope that tomorrow everyone's very British and calm and resolute. When I must say that I've been to a couple of the United Kingdom demonstrations and I was overwhelmed. I went there to interview people and talk to people by the sense of a festival, the sense of decency amongst the audience. And look, it doesn't really matter what your views are in Britain. You might really feel very strongly that you want to have immigrants here that are illegal, or you don't. But we have a duty and a responsibility to thrash them out calmly and openly. And this whole thing about calling people Nazis or far right because they challenge what we have ULEZ or low or net zero or low traffic neighbours, the British public's fed up of it. We're fed up of being called all sorts of names, white van man, gammon, scum, fed up of it. And what we need is to resuscitate the sense of enlightenment values, of engaging with each other calmly and reasonably. And I've seen that the organisers tomorrow have called upon people not to drink, to not wear masks, to be civil and calm, and that some people would love to caricature those demonstrations and people there as being all thugs. But actually, you know, what's really interesting is this is what people do when something happens to someone like Charlie Kirk. They're not out burning things, rioting, attacking police cars. We're very calmly dealing with it. And so I think that that should be the spirit in which we continue and take the high road and insist on that.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
So as an American who flew in to the UK extra for joining tomorrow, what did you feel when you hear it the first time that Charlie Kirk got shot in Utah?
Well, I would say the first thing I felt was huge disappointment and the loss of a massive leader for youth, bringing free speech and, you know, bringing new ideas and trying to open up the minds of young people. A lot of our college campuses and universities in the United States are very liberal, borderline communist. And it's, you know, tearing everything apart. It's tearing Western culture and Western ideals to pieces. When I found out Charlie Kirk had been killed, I was angry, I was upset, but I also felt emboldened by the fact that, you know, he's a martyr. He led such a huge movement. Turning Point USA, now we have Turning Point UK. These movements are not going to stop. We are all Charlie Kirk. If you look around, you better have enough ammo. So, it's just it's a terrible thing. You know, being killed for, you know, a difference of opinion is just not okay. I don't believe in political violence at all. You know, I lived under the Biden administration for 4 years, and never once did it ever cross my mind that this guy's got to be unalived. It's just unacceptable. It's unacceptable on every level.
Well, you have to believe in self.
So the thing is, when I don't know if you follow Joe Biden on X, but he posted yesterday that he feels the biggest condolences and political violence is not allowed. But when you remember when he was framing the conservative people, far-right extremists, and literally created those rhetoric that everyone who's against LGBTQ is questioned is actually a monster or a Nazi, a fascist. Yeah. So what do you think about having those rhetoric still floating around, and now having exactly this man who frames everyone a far-right extremist, who is questioning his policies, is now saying he feels sad that someone who he actually kind of called a Nazi died.
Well, I would just have to say that anything that the Democrat Party has to say is just empty words. They have stirred this up and created this massive problem. Not just Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, his entire administration, the Democrat Party in general, and then the media. The media are hugely to blame for inciting violence, calling people Nazis, fascists. I mean, at this point, these words are like ketchup. You can put them on anything, you know? It's just disgusting. It really is. And I don't believe, I just don't believe anything Biden has to say. I'm glad he's gone. So
as an American who literally saw January 6th as a big honeypot and kind of a created situation and problem, do you think that the government of the United Kingdom could use tomorrow to create kind of event?
I think they're already sort of creating an event by, the London Underground conveniently being on strike during a moment where lots of people are going to be coming together. I think that they have been abusing Section 4, Human Rights Act, to silence people. If words are just words, really. The whole sticks or stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me stands true today, as it has since the start of time. People should be able to say what they want. Just because, they might say things that are inflammatory or things that you don't agree with doesn't mean that they have to be shut up, I think everyone should be able to speak their mind, no matter what's on your mind. And that's why I'm here, to support the British and the English, Scottish and Irish and the Welsh and the Cornish and anyone else who's going to come tomorrow. And Northern Ireland even, yep, even them. I'm just here to support free speech in general. I feel like the West is under attack. I feel like a lot of our ideals and our culture are under attack, and it needs to end.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Chris, you are here at the remembrance celebration of Charlie Kirk. You know him personally, you knew him personally. So what did you feel when you heard about the horrible event, what happened in Utah?
This is a complete and utter tragedy, of course. No one on the planet had done more to fight at ground zero, which is university campuses. All of the bad things going on in the world today are because of what's being taught to kids in university. They're being radicalized there. And no one did more work in changing that culture than Charlie Kirk. His progress was immense. He was a huge influence in the presidential election last November, getting the vote out in the swing states. And his influence was only going to grow. So the left is scared of him. And we need to honor him by continuing to fight. We cannot let fear cause us to hesitate for even a moment. We need to double down on his efforts. We need to go into the universities more and tell the simple common sense conservatism that he was always doing. And we need to do the rational thing, which is have conversations with these students, because they're being lied to about virtually everything in society. If you ask any of these radical leftists what their problem with Charlie Kirk was, they couldn't even tell you. They just know that they're supposed to have a problem with him.
So we hear a lot the saying that the left couldn't silence him, that's why they killed him. Do you agree with the statement?
The left can't silence him. His voice is louder than ever. They've just martyred him. And for the rest of our lives, more and more people will know who Charlie Kirk is because of what he started.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are here now at the remembrance ceremony for Charlie Kirk. Why do you support him, and why do you coming here to show your condolence?
Look, I'm a young conservative. I'm a conservative on a student campus of a university which is very left-wing. And Charlie's movement was really about bringing people together to have conversations, to have difficult conversations, to air their disagreements. And in a time when university campuses in both America and the UK are places where civil conversation is stifled, where conservative views are suppressed and where conservative students are even shunned, I think Charlie's movement was really important in inspiring conservatives on campus to speak out and be proud of who they were. He was a very compassionate person. You know, there's a lot of people on the right who don't want to have conversation with people on the left and vice versa. But Charlie was all about extending that arm of conversation, bringing people together, having conversations. You air your views, I'll air my views, then we'll shake hands, disagree and go have a pint. And unfortunately, for spreading his opinions, which inspired millions of people, he was murdered. And so we're here to pay respects to a man who was not just a symbol, but a martyr for freedom of speech, both in America and the UK.
Charlie Kirk was very open and spoke very openly about the mass immigration problems, what Britain has, and also about the Islamization problems, what the United Kingdom has. Do you think he was right in that point?
I think Charlie Kirk's mission at its core was not just about saving American culture, it was about saving Western culture. I think Charlie Kirk recognised that all of America's core traditions came from its father state, which is the United Kingdom. And I think Charlie Kirk recognised that the problems that were happening in the United Kingdom with mass migration, with the lack of integration, was causing that culture to slowly be eroded. On our side of the pond as well as America's, and I think he recognised that it was worse on our side of the pond. You know, they have a president now in America who shut the borders, who said no more to illegal immigration. We still have these problems going on here, and actually as a Brit, I'm here because I'm really grateful to Charlie for the work that he did with my country. You know, he had no reason to speak out. You know, he's not linked to Britain, but he's an American, decided he was going to speak out on the importance of the issues that were facing Britain because he understood how significant Britain's history was to Americans' history. And I really appreciate him doing that. And he was 100% right to talk about sort of these cultural assimilation issues that are happening in the United Kingdom, the need to preserve Western culture, to ensure that integration is at the forefront of any immigration policy, because British culture, American culture, Western culture is truly the greatest culture that's ever existed on planet Earth. And his mission was all about preserving that. It was all about promoting that for the next generation, trying to get young people to see how important it was. Obviously he was killed for it, but it's important now for us to carry that on both in America and in Britain, because when one man falls, 100 men rise, and we're going to keep carrying that torch.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, no bother.
Hi Shoab, so you're here at the memorial ceremony from Charlie Kirk. Why are you supporting Charlie Kirk?
Well, I think whatever's happened to Charlie, it was wrong. And I think it was wrong against the humanity, because I always believe if there is anything that you need to do, you can have a conversation, a decent, respectful disagreement, which is always fine. But I think killing someone, taking someone's life just because of difference of opinion, difference of views, I don't think that is right. And I stand against what happened to Charlie, regardless, whatever his views were. Do I agree with it? Do I don't agree with it? That's irrelevant. But as a human being, for humanity, I think, yeah, that is the reason why I'm here. And I just wanted to make sure that people know that I do support him. And whatever has happened is absolutely wrong. It shouldn't have happened in the first place.
Do you think that this can also happen in the UK? Because the left-wing media is literally using the same wordings, the same rhetoric. So creating this enemy vision or role model of far-right extremists. So do you think that could happen? And with looking to tomorrow as this big event, do you think there is something planned or could happen?
I 100% believe this can happen. And I think the biggest problem I see in this all happening is, like you just said, in the news. You know, people talking about Tommy Robinson, people talking about all these people coming to tomorrow's event as some sort of racist far-right thugs. And I think we've seen this for too many weeks, too many years. It's been going on for too long. These mainstream media have put people like yourself and a lot of these people who are here today, they have made them look like far-right racists, where they're not racist. They're just here sharing the same opinions that I've got. And the reason why I come to these events, even though I come from, you know, I'm living in Wales, I have to travel all the way down here, and I do come here just to show my support and for the mainstream media to see it. When they see an immigrant like me standing shoulder to shoulder with people, you know, like the far-right people, they call me a far-right as well, and there we go. We stand shoulder to shoulder with each other. And my message has been very clear. These people are not racist, they are concerned. If you calling them racist because they're white, guess what? I'm a racist too, because I've got exactly the same concerns as these guys. So if you want to call them far-right, guess what? I'm a far-right immigrant as well. So yeah, that is exactly why I'm here, and I will support Tommy Robinson and everybody that comes here. I'll be here every single day that I need to tell people that this is not some sort of racism going on. Because I've seen a lot of media putting out these leaflets. I've actually received some saying that, oh, if you're a Muslim, if you're black, if you're brown, if you're not white, you should not go to central London. I'm here. I'm here, literally. Nobody's trying to hit me. Nobody's trying to deport me, because that's what they said. They will get me, people like me, deported. But I've been here all the time, and I'm here today. But yeah, I don't think that is right what the mainstream media is doing. And everybody, if there are people from ethnic minority and they believe in free speech, they believe in freedom of expression, they should be here. They should come and support these people, because this is not far right. There's nothing racism going on here. It's just people concerned for their families, for the women and children, and that's it.